Hey, welcome back. Van here. In this video we're going to go over my favorite jerky recipe, and it's really simple. If you get you one of these measuring mixing cups like this right here, then it's very simple that you can just go, a 4 is a half a cup, 8 is a cup, 6 is 3/4 of a cup, 2 is a quarter of a cup. If you notice over here to my right, you'll see, your left, you'll see that I've got a book over here. I always keep up with things that I do, and I always encourage people to do the same thing, because if you keep up with your stages as you do stuff, then you'll know whenever things work and don't work, and you can go back and check it out. So we're just going to go with 4 ounces of soy sauce. This is a half a cup. We're going to go with 4 ounces of Worcestershire. What's this here sauce? That would be another half a cup. 1 tablespoon of granulated garlic. 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. I've always said this in my other videos, and I'll say it in this one too. You don't want to use onion powder or you don't want to use onion salt or garlic salt, because that's going to be too much salt. You want to go with the granulated garlic, and either the garlic powder or the onion powder or the granulated onion, but you do not want to go with the salt version of it, because it's going to be too much. I don't have any seasoned salt, so I'm going to use one of my favorite seasonings, and it's butt rub. I'm going to put 1 tablespoon of butt rub in here as a seasoned salt. You can use Lyrely seasoned salt, any kind of generic seasoned salt, whatever you want to use, but I'm going to use butt rub today. Now we're going to add some accent to it. And it's not just a southern slang, this is actually a thing here. So you want about 1/8 of a teaspoon per serving, and we're going to be having right at 4 pounds, so let's go with a half a teaspoon of accent. Accent is a flavor enhancer, but it's also an MSG, and if you don't know what MSG is, it will help preserve. We're going to put some Prague powder number 1 in. This is also preservative, and it's going to make your jerky last longer is what it's going to do. You don't want to try to eat this. This is not good to eat. This will dry you out. So just put that in there. It's a sodium nitrate. Now we're going to add some lime juice, 2 tablespoons of lime juice. And lime juice, what it does is it'll actually help break down the fibers of the meat, kind of like what a vinegar will do, but I'll also add that little bit of citrus flavor to it. It's going to balance out acidity and everything in the meat. Put your lid on tight, shake it up. Now the best place that I've found to buy meat right now is Sam's Club. $4.98 a pound. You're really looking at a really good price on what you would have in the jerky, considering that jerky right now goes for anywhere from $26 to a little over $30 a pound, depending on where you're getting it from. I could have saved some more money and went ahead and got a whole eye round. I could have went up to the meat market and said, hey, give me a whole eye round, and it's usually around $3 a pound, sometimes a little more. They would trim it out for free. And when I say trim it out, they would have cut this cap off and everything, and that means you're paying for more meat than you are fat. But I didn't. They were really busy. This is Memorial Weekend, and I didn't want to hold them up, Cut that cap off there. And this is a pretty clean piece of meat right here. We're just going to get a little bit more of this fat off right here. My fillet knife is in the house, so I'm using the big butcher knife. I'm going to show you the best way that I've found over the years of making jerky to cut this meat before you go to slicing it. And if you ever made brisket, you'll know that you've got to cut that brisket at a certain way. If not, it's tough. So we'll get the rest of this fat off here in a second, and we'll go to cutting it. And you'll see this in one of my other videos. Some other videos is you've got the grain running like this. You got cross grain and going with the grain. Well, I like to cut it like this, and this just makes the meat pull apart better when you're chewing up your jerky. You're going to cut it in about a 1/2 inch size strips. You know, if you want it bigger, you can cut it in 3/4 to an inch. It's okay. We're going to run this through the slicer, the jerky slicer. Yeah, it's going to make some pretty good steaks here. I need to take my knife and sharpen it, don't I? You know, some people say throw it in the freezer. You don't have to throw it in the freezer. You know, this cuts up just fine like it is. Move that out of the way. This cuts up just fine like it is. It's pretty good right there. Let's get the slicer out. If you've never used one of these jerky slicers, I'm telling you, it's going. If you're making jerky to sell it, it's going to save you lots of. I'm backwards here. It's going to save you lots of time. I'm backwards. Put that there. It's just going to save you lots and lots of time. Look, every one of these pieces is coming out the same. Even your small pieces like this, run it through there. Like that. We're going to be making this in the smoker, but you can make it in the dehydrator the same way. All you got to do is put it in there and do it till it's done. I like the smoker. I bought that Pitball smoker because the Series 7 goes down to 100 degrees. It usually stays around, for a cold smoke, it'll stay around 150, somewhere in there. And the reason why I like that is, I'm going to tell you, because when you got your smoker or dehydrator or whatever at a lower temperature, what that does is that allows the marinade to dry to the meat. And then you want to crank the temperature up after about 45 minutes to an hour at a low temperature, then start dehydrating it. What I've found over the years of doing it at a higher temperature right off the bat is you just cooked your marinade out. And if you don't believe me, look at the drippings. Try this. Look at the drippings on at 45 minutes to an hour at a low heat and letting it dry to the marinade. You'll have very little drippings. Start at a higher heat and you'll have a lot of drippings all the way through the process. You just cooked all your marinade out. It just dripped out into the, you know, it ain't no good. And we're going to separate each one of these pieces out. Because what happens whenever you do this jerky slicer is, you got a tendency of them sticking together like this. And what causes that is the little bit of fat inside of the meat makes it stick together. And we're going to cook it at a low temperature. So this little bit of fat right here, a lot of that's going to render out into nothing. I really enjoy making jerky. I've been trying to make this all weekend, and I just wanted to share this with you, this recipe of mine, because I like this recipe, and I think it's probably one of the best recipes that's out there. You can take this recipe and add a lot of stuff to it and turn it into something else. You can add a bottle of A1 sauce to it, or you can add a bottle of Heinz 57 and make some steakhouse jerky. You can add some barbecue sauce to it and make some barbecue jerky. You can add some Tony Chachere's Creole seasoning and make it a Cajun jerky. There's lots of different things you can do with this marinade to turn it into something else, and that's what I like about it. And this recipe reminds me of Allegro. If you don't know about Allegro, that's a marinade that you buy over in the marinade section at the store, and it's probably one of the best marinades out there. It's about like Dale's, but it's got a better flavor to it. And I believe what sets it apart is the citrus that it's got in there. And you know, we just added some lime juice to this marinade, so it kind of resembles the Allegro marinade. pour it over top here. That's just like that. Power on, the lid on. Why did it go back off? Pull the tube out, turn the power back on. Pull a vacuum on this. This thing is wonderful. I'm telling you. This thing right here will pull everything up into that meat. Okay? Just takes a minute here to pull a vacuum on it. If you know about wood, pressure treated wood, it's the same thing. You know how that pressure treated wood is all the way through, got that chemical in there, you know? Well, they use the same process as this to pull all that up in there. And this right here will pull all that marinade up into that meat. And if you want it to be really good, do it twice. Do this twice. Release the vacuum on it. After about 15 minutes, release the vacuum on it and pull another vacuum and let it tumble another 15 minutes. So we just want to shake this up just a little bit. Throw this on here and set our time. Why no time set? There we go. I'm gonna do it for 20 minutes. All right, on this smoker, this Pit Boss smoker, you want to have it on where it says smoke. Turn the power on, and that smoke setting is the setting that's the reason why I bought this, is because it's supposed to be around 100 degrees, which is still pretty good. So we're just gonna let this go for about 10 minutes, and then we'll start adding the beef jerky. You see this smoke right here? This is the very first part of the smoke as it's starting up. You don't want this smoke right here on your meat, whether you're making jerky or anything else, because that is the bitter smoke. After this thing, about 10 minutes, you'll get the good smoke, and that's the smoke you want. You don't want this. We'll go ahead and open up this beef jerky vacuum marinade tumbler. It's showing a temperature of 160 degrees in here. That temperature is going to drop some as the pellets start burning and the machine starts regulating. These little pieces like this, save them to the side. I've got a rack right here that I'm going to throw them on, and I'll slide another rack in on top. Let them sit up there and dry out. It's going to be some good stuff here. And the kind of wood that I use is the competition blend. All right, everything's in there, and put this rack right here with the small pieces in it. Oh, smoke's smoking you out, ain't it? Sorry about that. We're going to open this door up now. It's been 30 minutes or so, 45 minutes. We're going to bump this up to 200 degrees. And we're going to let that sit there for just a few minutes with the door open, and that lets all that bad smoke get out of there. And then we'll shut the door and get this thing rolling. All right, this thing's got past that smoke stage. We're going to shut this door up right here and let it go. It's at 170 right now, 175. It's going to get up to 200. It'll probably bump up over 200 here and there, but we're going to leave it there for about 2.5 hours. It's going to take 3 hours to get done. We're going to start checking it in 2.5 hours. All right, so we're looking at about 3 hours into it now. I could tell a little while ago that 2.5 hours wasn't going to be enough, so that's what we're looking at right there. There's those little pieces on top. All right, we're going to pull a piece out and set it here to the side. But I know the rest of them's not done. So I'm just going to set this here and let this cool, because there's probably going to be some that I can take off, but I can tell by feeling this, it's probably not going to be done yet. These right here are way done right here on top. Way done. Oh, that's done. See how it pulls the fibers apart? That was done. Watch. We'll get these out of here. It's been, look at there. Yeah. It's been about 4 hours. Or 3.5 to 4 hours. So, that's it.